License to krill. Krill or be krilled. Do you know people who don't love the Orville? They will. They will. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the all-new Talking the Orville. We are here for episode 6 of the Orville Season 1 Watch Party. Today's episode is Krill. We'll be watching the episode, and while we're watching the episode together, cue it up on your side of the screen so you can watch along with us. I'll have some fun things going on screen. I'll have the subtitles going on so you can follow along with the episode. Even if you're not watching it, you'll kind of know what's going on in the episode. But I'll be giving commentary as well as behind-the-scenes information, and as well as just in front of the scenes information about this episode, as well as talking to you guys along the way. Mark Lawrence, the other Mark Lawrence, now an official channel member. It's so good to have so many Mark Lawrence official channel members here on Talking the Orville. Thank you very much. I'll put that on the screen. When you are a channel member, an official channel member, your name in the chat is highlighted green so I can see who you are. You're my people. I like seeing you guys so that I can say, hey, Deck, what's going on? Deck, official channel member. Brian Dawkins, official channel member. Archmage Frey, kind of an official channel member on the other account, but definitely a friend of Talking the Orville. What's going on, everybody? Are you excited for Krill? This episode was very different for me. It hit different. Usually I'm not a big fan of the super alien episodes where, like, going back to the Star Trek days. I love the Klingons. I love Worf. Love all that stuff going on. But when there's a full-on Klingon episode, I usually wasn't as interested. I thought that might be the same for the Krill episode when I first watched it all those years ago. But no, that didn't happen. I thought it was a lovely episode. I loved exploring who are the Krill? What makes them different? What's their thing? What's their bag? A bag of human heads is kind of their bag. We find out in this episode. This also episode where I'm like, whoa, the Orville will go there. I didn't expect the show to go there. And I'm talking about the Krill and their little ceremony and holding that dude's head up. We'll get all into that while the episode is playing. Brian Dawkins says, I am one of Justin Poole's people. That's me, JP. JP. Everyone in my house is JP. All of our initials are J and P. Deck says, yes, I am. Argmace Frey says, I have a badge on this one. Does it not show? Let's see here. I see you have that's true. You have your wrench badge as well as, is that what it is? As well as that little, whatever that badge is, that S badge. All of you, well, yeah, I guess you do got a badge. It's not highlighted green. I wonder what that is. I don't know. I don't know things. This isn't my platform. I don't run YouTube. I don't run StreamYards. I guess it's a StreamYard thing. That's an S. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Speaking of badges, next week we'll be watching Majority Rule, where they have those up-down badges. I have one of those badges from the episode. An official badge from the set, from the filming of that episode. I need to track that down and wear that next week. Don't let me forget. The wrench might trump the badge. It's good to have a wrench. Wrenches can come in pretty handy. Deck says, Season 4 theory. Ed, let's put it up on the screen. Ed can gain custody of Anaya, but using the same cloaking technology that him and Gordon in this very episode to get her back. Oh, that's right. In this episode, for those who don't know, but of course you know, you've seen this episode, Ed and Gordon disguise themselves as Krill using that portable holographic cloaking device. They might have to use that in order to sneak onto Krill in Season 4, which goes into production in just a few months from now. to save Anaya, because everybody wants Anaya saved. At least try to save Anaya. Maybe it won't work out. Maybe there'll still be a couple more seasons before we actually get Anaya. But it would be nice to at least have a mission to try to figure out how to get her back. Samwise says Jaloja from California. Good old California. I bet you the weather is nice and cool, or at least not too warm in most of California. I mean, it gets hot in the inland area, but I mostly spent most of my time when I lived in California along the coast. I'm a coastal bro. I grew up at the beach. All right, so let me get my screen going on here. I'm a little bit tired today. I drove all day long, and then I came home, got ready, and then got the live show ready, and here we are, ready to do a live show. There's so many buttons to press, so many things to set up. Let me add this. Yes. That's working. Okay, so when it's time to watch the episode, Krill, season 1, episode 6, for those who might be joining or can't read the banner at the bottom of the screen, I will count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On 1, we all press play. And I'm sorry if you have commercials. I don't have commercials, but if you have commercials, I'm sorry. You might have to catch up after the commercials play each time. Sorry about that. But what can I do? Even if I had commercials, the commercials would probably be at different times than your commercials, right? Or they'd be longer commercial breaks or shorter commercial breaks. Everybody's got different commercials. That should be a whole topic right there. What commercials are you getting in your life? Oh, that's different than the commercials I get. My commercials are always trying to sell me medication, pharmaceuticals, and reverse mortgages. All right, you guys. So the episode, let's get it going. Because once we're done with the live show, I'm going to go get something to eat and then settle down for a minute and then go to bed so I can start the day all over again tomorrow, very early in the day. All right, so let's see. It's on 0. So this is episode Krill, you guys, and we're going to start it up on 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's happening. You can see it a little bit on the screen. Brian Dawkins, Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. Krill, are you cursing us? Right. Deck is ready. Oh, a little bit extra. Make sure all the subtitles are working. Okay. We should be fine. Mark says, I keep getting ads for SUVs in Spanish. I also get a lot of commercials in Spanish. I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I can also tell a lot of those commercials, even though I get the Spanish versions, I could tell that they're for bilingual. They can make an English version or a Spanish version. So this is the scene where we find out a lot of people assume that Boris can eat anything. That's not true. Boris says right here in the scene, I can eat many things. He can eat a lot of things, but he can't eat everything. Like we learned in season 3, apparently he can't eat walnut shells. They can eat the interior meat, but not the outer shell, unless they're just trying to be cool and do it the way humans do it. I didn't understand why Mothlins weren't just popping those things like grapes. And then he goes ahead, eats the napkin. I wonder what that really is, like licorice or a gummy napkin. 1 cactus plant. And Portis can eat a cactus plant, I'm pretty sure, you guys. All right, so this episode, the Krill episode, this is number 6. Krill is the 6th episode of the 1st season of the Orville. Captain Ed Mercer and helmsman Gordon Malloy, you might have heard of him, of the USS Orville, go undercover aboard a Krill ship to steal a copy of the Krill Holy Book, the Ancana. I got a page from an official page from the Ancana right there. This page will be seen in this episode. It'll probably be cut off a little bit because I'm covering most of it. You'll see the bottom of it. But if you're watching it on your end of the screen, you will see that exact page on your screen. You can, Brian, you got an ad for caviar? Who are you? What does the algorithm think about you? Uh, they're giving you caviar ads. That's awesome. So this episode was written by David A. Goodman. David A. Goodman, of course, makes all the Orville comic books. He writes them, and they're great. If you haven't read the Orville comics, highly recommend that you do. Pranakasha Productions, thank you so much for that super chat. Super duper Space Command chat. I hope Space Command is going well for you, good sir. And thank you for that super chat. Guys, don't forget to check out Mark Zekri and his production of Space Command. Dark Helmet says, I got an ad for ED meds. Yeah, I get that a lot too. Don't know why. I don't have that problem. Unfortunately for my wife, I don't have that problem. So this episode is written by David A. Goodman, breaking from the majority of the season's episode, which were written by creator Seth MacFarlane. I'm going to turn my end down a little bit. And this episode is directed by John Cassar. This is the very first episode. John Cassar, who is one of the main people involved with the Orville. He's a executive producer. He's the main director. He's the guy. This is his very first visit to the Orville set and the very first job he got with the Orville. And now he's permanent. He's a head honcho. Wait till you're in your 50s. Well, I'm getting close. Pranakasha Productions. Just a couple more years to go. But I ain't worried about it. Because they used to say, wait till you're in your 40s. Ain't no thing. So most of the episodes are written by Seth MacFarlane, but this one is actually written by David A. Goodman. It was scored by Joel McNeely, one of our friends. Now, of course, we meet Michaela McManus for the very first time in this episode. She plays Talea. Later on, we'll also know her as Janelle Tyler. But right now, we just know her as Talea. Oh, Talea. We got a lot to talk about over the next few years about Talea. Little joke right there on screen. There's a fire, and it says, "What about the fire suppression, whatever system? That's what's on fire." That's funny. I know that cracked up John Cassar. John Cassar wasn't used to doing much comedy in his work. Usually, it's just high action and tension, which we get a lot of in this episode. But there's also humor involved. The Orville is always going to have some humor. People say, "Oh, season 3 doesn't have a lot of jokes." Yeah, it does. It just has a whole lot of drama. It just upped the stakes, but the humor is still there. Let's see. Kelly Hu plays Admiral Ozawa. We know her, and James Horan plays High Priest Sazaron, and we also will see Dylan Kinnan return to the show as Captain Harrows. Oh, we know Harrows. Harrows is that scary-looking Krill. Very manly-looking Krill. Though Krill was one of the least watched episodes of Season 1, it was perhaps the most favorably reviewed by critics until that point. Praise for developing the Krill species as a complex, nuanced antagonist. They really are. There's a lot more about the Krill coming up here. Let me just scroll. Let's visit that planet in an episode. Did they ever recover? Okay. So the idea for this episode came very early in the show's history, in the development of the show. Back when MacFarlane and Goodman first developed the elements of the show through long conversations, one of Goodman's first contributions was to develop MacFarlane's concept of the Krill into an enemy species motivated by a brutal god. Avis, you might know him as. Right over there. Talking about you, fool. MacFarlane had the idea for members of the Orville to go undercover on a Krill ship. That's scary. I don't know if I could ever do undercover on a bad guy's car, a bad guy's ship, a bad guy's office. I don't know if I have it in me just to go in there and be all chill and cool. I'd be afraid of dying the whole entire time. Yeah, notice how the krill ship looks like a grasshopper? Not the drink, the bug, the animal. Yeah, that background on the screen with the surface had a Babylon 5 feel visual wise. Because, yeah, it was all CG. It was all probably green screen. Um, Babylon 5 was one of the very first sci-fi shows to really go heavy with the CGI and the green screen stuff. Mark Lawrence says we've got to get JP to Star Trek Las Vegas in 2026. That'll be a good year to go. I've been seeing more and more Orville cosplayers. Yeah, if I'm going, I'll make sure everybody's getting dressed up for the Orville. But yeah, 2026 would probably be a big Orville thing going on at Star Trek Las Vegas. Well, 2025 might have some announcements. 2025 would probably have some sneak peeks of some production stills or something like that. But when it comes to actually seeing video, I bet you we'll probably have to wait till. I bet you it'll premiere in 2026. New episodes because it's just a big show. You guys know how big the show is. So Seth and Goodman were tinkering with ideas that were dormant since before the Orville was picked up by Fox. Goodman and MacFarlane had long discussed the idea of an alien race that regarded all other species as non-sentient and valueless during their conversations developing the show. And that's how the Krill are. That's what makes them so different. Is like, ain't nobody nothing if you ain't Krill. If you ain't Krill, you're last. They're just hardcore jerks. Paul, thank you so much. Paul is now a new member. Let me see if I can give a shot here to your last name. This is the K pronounced? Is it Kellander or Jillander? Jellander? That would be a good name for one of Yaphet's race. That's the word gel in it. You can let me know how to pronounce your last name so that I can do better. Always trying to do better, Paul, but thank you very much for being an official channel member. Eat my weapon. So I do know that Scott Grimes absolutely hated wearing the Krill makeup. He said it was so uncomfortable. It took 2.5 hours to put on, took time to take off, and it gave him extra respect for the actors that have to wear stuff like that all the time. Peter Macon has to wear hardcore makeup all the time. There's no holographic version of Peter Macon on the show, though they should do that. That would be fun. So the idea was a powerful space empire that believed that if you're not in their Bible, the Ancana, then you don't exist. That was something we all worked together in the writer's room. We knew who the Krill were going to be before this episode. That was something we decided was set early on before even the pilot script, but there was no way to get it across before this episode. The Midnight Special. This song was a tribute. This song was picked by Seth MacFarlane to be a tribute to the Twilight Zone movie. I think the opening scene of the Twilight Zone movie had that song. And so he wanted to use that song for their trip to the whole Krill thing that's going on. Brian Dawkins. So the effects for the Orville will be giant TV screens and live practical effects inserted during the filming. At first, the first season, they eventually dropped the technology, but all the viewfinder, not viewfinder, but the view screen effects, when they're flying through space, stuff going on outside the windows, that was all a giant TV screen. So there was a giant TV screen outside these windows. That way, the actors were able to see exactly what we, the audience, would see. They eventually scrapped that idea because it wasn't as versatile as they'd like it to be. So, but the first few episodes, what they're seeing outside the window is the same thing that we're seeing. And boom, now we got Krill makeup. What are we going to call ourselves? Okay, Paul is coming through. It's pronounced Shellander. It's a Scandinavian, Scandinavian Swedish thing. Nice, Shellander. That's cool. It sounds like it should be a video game or a movie, kind of like Highlander. There can be only one. Oh, that's a whole other conversation going into Highlander mode. So the idea for the Krill episode was tabled until the 6th episode, which we're on now, which MacFarlane gave to Goodman to write. Goodman sought to craft the Krill as religious fanatics as an allegory for dangerous religious extremism in our own world, which was even a bigger topic of conversation back when this episode was being written, you guys. Remember 2016, 2017? There was some stuff going on. There's still stuff going on, but there was some stuff going on back in the day. Goodman remarked, here we go. When asked about whether the show was finding a balance between dramatic storytelling and comedy with this episode, Goodman remarked that shows often take time to find their footing, and the Orville is no exception. All the Star Trek shows took a while to figure out who they were. For me, Deep Space Nine didn't get good until season 4, and Voyager as well. All these kinds of shows take a little time to find themselves. If you are saying we are finding it on episode 6, I'll take it. Season 4 of Voyager, isn't that when 7 of 9 was finally introduced to the show? Look at Chris and Devin, you guys. That's so funny. Ed is scratching his head. Now, to him, he's actually scratching his real head, but to us, it's the prosthetic. What's up, Grosnar? Grosner. Howdy, folks. Welcome to the live show. Glad that you are here. Executive producer Brandon Braga noted that Gordon and Ed's consideration of Krill families and children when deciding whether to destroy the Yakar was an intentional departure from Star Trek. Of course, this is Star Trek. Brandon Braga worked on Star Trek for a very long time. He was Star Trek for a very long time. Star Trek, they never made those considerations, those ethical considerations in circumstances like this. The Orville is the first show to say, oh, what about the families and the children on the ship? If we destroy the bad guys, we might hurt them too. Star Trek was like, no, just destroy the whole ship. We don't care. It just never came up. What a different world they lived in when Star Trek was being written compared to modern day sci-fi. Gotcha says, speaking of Voyager, I heard Tim Russ crew live in LA on Sunday at the Kibitz Room. Oh, that's nice. Tim Russ, of course, is an awesome musician. He's got an awesome band. I know you've played with him. He's a cool dude. I've met him before. He's a fan of the Orville. I can tell you that. Dark Helmet. How do you feel about there being a new Spaceballs movie coming out? Why did not a single Krill question Ed and Gordon's eyes not being black? Their pupils, I guess, are black, but they have whites of their eyes. I never noticed that. That is different. All the other Krill have fully black eyes, but Chris and Devin have the whites of their eyes. Now, of course, that's done for the benefit of us, the audience, so that we can always, humanize the two characters, especially in contrast to the Krill. But I've never noticed that. I've always wondered why they look a little different. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. See, I don't catch everything. That's why we have a community. Together, we catch everything. Oh, man, I might have to sneeze. Oh, goodness. Don't do it, JP. Don't do it. Stupid JP. Okay. Chronic Archer says, I didn't play this time, but it was instrumental in getting folks to dance. Nice. You were instrumental in getting folks to dance. You gotta be that guy sometimes. You gotta get people up there. Sometimes you gotta be the first one. I try to do that sometimes. Sometimes people will tag along, and other times people are like, "Ugh, we're embarrassed." I'm like, don't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Life is is too harsh, too dangerous to worry about what somebody thinks about you dancing. Just get out there and do it. Have a good time. Let me skip past this. The music is great. Check out the music. So filming the entire set of the car where we're at right now was built inside the set of the Orville's shuttle bay. We're actually in the shuttle bay right now. Director Kassar recounts that the episode was his first with the show, and he had not seen MacFarlane before joining the set. However, MacFarlane was in costume as a Krill by the time John Kassar arrived. So Kassar directed nearly the entire episode without ever seeing MacFarlane's face. That's interesting. Oh, that head? There's some trivia about that. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Howard Berger, who does all the makeup for the Orville, the head of the makeup department for season one, modeled the severed head prop used for the chapel scene after famous special effects artist Tom Savini. So that head is Tom Savini's head. So if you thought he looked familiar, it's like, oh, that dead severed head or unalive severed head looks familiar to me. It's Tom Savini. Samin Amadine, Katniss Everdeen. So this moment when watching the episode, I was like, whoa, that is so harsh. Never expected such a harsh scene in the Orville. Now I do. We know the show inside and out at this point, but in episode 6, I didn't know the show inside and out. We were all still getting to know it. This is also an episode where I realized that Ed Mercer has some skills. He can take care of himself. I didn't expect that either. But he can do a little bit of martial arts. He can kick a little booty when he needs to. Let me go back to where I was. Okay. Wait, no. Okay, so we're on Shuttle Bay. We're on the Shuttle Bay. No, we read that as well. Okay, reception, viewership of this episode. Krill was well received by general audiences and enjoys an 8.3 rating on IMDb. Ooh, IMDb. Very important thing, IMDb. It was seen by 3.37 million viewers in the United States. Although respectable, it was the lowest viewer rating until that point and the second lowest of the season. Oh, they got caught. The Krill are so interesting. Like in sci-fi, there's lots of similar looking races, but I mean, all the little details, the chin, the pointy little like pinchers of their chin, very interesting. What are the ones called on Star Trek that people say they look Krill kind of look like? I mean, the Krill are totally different, but it's close enough. I can't remember what they're called. Kind of their skin is a little bit more rocky looking than scaly looking. There was an arc in Voyager about saving Borg children. Oh, I remember that. Horns need waxing time to time. Brother, ain't that true? Remans. Oh no, I was thinking of the Jim Hadar. The Remans are the third wheel of the Romulan Vulcan trifecta. Yeah, I think the Remans even look more like the Krill, but everyone was saying the Jim Hadar. But I would agree with the Remans. Even though the Remans are a little bit more Nosferatu looking. I think the krill are a little bit more albino alligator looking. Here it is, you guys. There's the krill. Now, the other side of that Avis picture that I have has that stuff on it, has all the krill scripture. And there's Avis. There he is right there. Look at him. Look at him. He is a real dick. Sporting goods. Pranakash says, speaking of Space Command, we did a 3-day shoot last week, and I got to play a captain. Oh, that's awesome. It's not your first time playing a captain, so I hear. But it might be your first time playing a captain in Space Command. Yeah, at this point, Talia was still nice. Even next season in Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes, she was still borderline. She's like, she's a jerk, but also she might be our friend. We just got to get her on our side. And then, and then when we meet her again in season 3, man, she's a jerk. She's the worst. I don't know if I can ever forgive her for how crazy she went in season 3. Uh-oh. Their disguises are going all cray-cray. The emitters. After this episode, I thought for sure they would use those emitters for Isaac to become human. They didn't do it till way later, years later. They didn't use that for Gordon. I thought it would be coming within this first season. John Allen Moravitz, thank you very, very much for that super extra duper looper super chat. Doctor Who scarf guy. Hey, Doctor Who scarf. I got a Doctor Who scarf. Big old scarf. It's almost a blanket. It's such a big Doctor Who scarf. It's so great. I love that thing. I mean, I don't keep it out because I don't want to. I still keep it in the plastic because I want it to be preserved because it's from the mid 80s, right? And but yeah, I love that thing. I'd love to display it, but I don't want anything to happen to it. I have a dog. I have 2 dogs, and one dog's a puppy, and she likes to chew on stuff. So I'm gonna wait till she's old. Maybe I'll put it out somewhere. But it's so good to have you here, and thank you for that super duper ooper to duper chat. Very much appreciated, and Avis appreciates it too. Thank you very much. My lips didn't even move. What? That was him talking the whole time. Thank you. We'll leave that up on the screen for a little bit. Let's see, where was I at here? Okay. So after Krill aired, Goodman said to the Planetary Union Network, that's the official Orville podcast, just seeing that already people are dedicated fans of the show is extremely satisfying. To be working on this thing and have people already loving it, we were very scared. The critical response before the show came out was really negative, and the critics really went after us. Critics don't matter. Tell you that right. I told you that back then. I'll tell you that right now. Critics don't matter. You matter. Watch a thing, see if you like it. What the critics say will very rarely line up with how you feel about a thing. He reserves some of the sharpest words for professional critics who dislike the show. Goodman says, it's crazy. You look at the critics and say, okay, you need to do any sort of self-reflection and say, why does the audience love this show and I didn't? You just look down on the audience and say they're stupid, or you say you're not connecting to what the audience likes and what's good about the show. Yeah, the audience is, if you go look on IMDb, no, Rotten Tomatoes, I'm sorry, the very first season, professional critics hated the show and tore it apart, but the audience, by leaps and bounds, absolutely adored the show. So what's the difference? What's going on there? What's going on with the critics that they're tearing it apart while the audience loves it? There's a disconnect. What's the motivations of the professional critics? Is it just to get clicks or to really tell you what they think about something? Are they jaded? If they're jaded, why are they critiquing anything? They're not in the mental mind space to do it. Very interesting questions we got to ask ourselves. That's right. Karen says only the fans matter. That's what I've learned. Deck, I can imagine someone saying Avis's name in the butthead voice. Oh, Avis. Yeah, Avis. Yeah, yeah. It totally looks like Avis. Beavis. Critical response. The Orville enjoyed some of the strongest critical acclaim of the season until that point. Uh, Den of Geek gave the episode 4.5 stars, which is great, writing that the episode is genuinely entertaining humor and a multifaceted moral dilemma combined amazingly well in one of the best of the Orville episodes yet. Good on you, Den of Geek. Jammer of Jammers reviews awarded the episode 3 out of 4 stars, opining that Krill was the best episode so far. Uh, tons of people are giving the episode a positive review. Now, people are giving every episode a positive review because they realized or they messed up in season 1. They're like, "Oh, I wasn't, I wasn't being a sci-fi fan. I was being getting clicks fan." What happens when you become a sci-fi fan? You'll love the Orville because this is legit sci-fi. Some of the best, the top that you can get. This is the highest concepts of science fiction, and they put some jokes in there as well. The fact that they're able to even do that is such a scary thing. That's why they were so scared to put out when they were making the show in season 1 because of what they were doing. It's so different. It has to work on both levels and has to work well on both levels. Trivia. Talia, back when she was able to smile without kind of being a sadistic smile. Yeah, so like I said, Scott Grimes hated being in the Krill makeup. He said it was so uncomfortable. It took 2.5 hours and it sucked. I'm glad I don't have to do what the others have to do every day. Guest star James Horan continues the Orville's use of actors with connections to the Star Trek franchise. Horan made guest appearances in The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. He is best known in Trek circles for playing an unnamed humanoid character, colloquially referred to as Future Guy, in 5 episodes of Enterprise. James Horan, he played one of the Krill. I can't remember exactly which Krill he's playing. There are actually 111 unique Krill characters in this episode alone. And for that reason, makeup artist Berger says this episode was the most difficult of the season. Yeah, this is a lot of makeup, a lot of aliens, a lot of actors, a lot of extras. Dark Helmet says the Krill kids scene really added a new level to complexity to this episode and the story. Right? If they didn't take the time to show these kids when it's time to blow up the ship, no one would have said anything. They wouldn't have said anything. They wouldn't even considered the fact that there was children on the ship. But right here, now Ed's realizing, whoa, there are actually young kids on here. And I love how the tables are turned on him at the end of the episode when Talia asks, "Why didn't you uh, uh, kill the kids?" And he's like, "They're just children. They're not my enemy." And she goes, "After they saw what you did, they will be. They will be." Who's this little jerk? I only say he's a jerk because he's a Krill. He's probably a nice kid in real life, but he's going to grow up to be a Krill. So the chances are he'll probably be a jerk. Not 100%, but 99.9%. Because there are a couple of Krill on the planet that are like, hey, we kind of want peace with the Union. We don't see things the way our government sees them. Brian Dawkins says, my favorite line is coming up. Judge the stranger, not by his sheath, but by his sword. What? It's so funny you said sheath. I was watching an episode of Modern Family, and Claire, trying to throw an awesome birthday party, set up a crafts table for Luke, and wanted everyone to make comb sheaths. Sheaths for their combs. And I'm like, well, first off, kids don't have combs anymore. Not the 50s. And single people too. That was at the beginning of the episode. Probably a lot of families down there. Probably a lot of single people too. That's funny too, because there's plenty of times in Star Trek about, yeah, there's probably a lot of people down there, a lot of families and parents, blah, blah, blah. No one ever considered the single people, but you should. They're people. Alarm says, in the new season, I would love to see more of Ed's daughter and how she would cope in the middle of the war. Also, what's her opinion? She's going to be a little bit old. She'll be at least 2 years older when we see her next. Don't know what that'll mean as far as her biology. Topa grows really fast. She obviously grew really fast. How old will Ed's daughter be the equivalent of the next time we see her? And, her mind will probably be evolved a little bit too. She's going to have opinions on things. What if she doesn't want anything to do with her father? That'd be a great little dilemma right there. Spend all this time trying to save her, and then you get there and she considers you a non-sentient nothing because she read the damn Ankana. Ankana sounds kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger going, Ankana, instead of Sarah Connor. Ankana. In this episode, the Planetary Union ship that carries Admiral Ozawa in the USS Olympia, a heavy cruiser, and a larger ship than the Orville. However, in the episode Cupid's Dagger, Derulio was carried aboard the USS Olympia. Thus, the show has used the USS Olympia as the name of two different Planetary Union ships, one smaller than the Orville and one larger. So Ozawa is on a very big Olympia, and then Derulio is on a small Olympia ship. Dark Humble says, "I wish I could get ADs about the episode I am watching." LOL. We got all the ADs you can ever want. Auto destruct. That's my ADs. Auto destruct. William says, "I really enjoyed Gordon's 21st Century Family arc, and I think it would be really cool if they found a way to bring his wife back. Yeah, bring her back for a third time. I was surprised we got her the second time. But as soon as Gordon went back in time, I was like, oh no, I know what he's going to do. And he did. To bring her back for a third time. But this time we have to bring her back. It'd have to be an alternate version of her, because I still think there's many versions of Laura now. There's the version that never met Gordon. There's the version that did meet Gordon and had a child with him. There's also the version that their family didn't disappear. Gordon didn't disappear, but also a version where Gordon did disappear. Who will we get? Will we get all of them? Will we get a deranged Gordon in season 4 from the timeline? His family disappeared, and he wants revenge. Ooh, that'd be a good storyline too. I just want Gordon to be happy. Gordon deserves love. Someone who appreciates him. He obviously longs for that type of connection with somebody, a real connection. Samwise, an alt timeline Gordon as a villain trying to get his family back would be cool. It really, really would. And Scott Grimes could do it. Scott Grimes is a multifaceted actor. He plays Goofy Gordon, but we saw how serious he was in that episode twice in a lifetime about his family, how serious he got. And here, Ed can kick some booty. I never expected that. I mean, I even forget that Captain Kirk can kick some booty. Can Captain Picard kick booty? And Captain Kirk will double kick booty. I know Picard's had a little bit of fisticuffs here and there, not much, because they were right with TNG. They kept him on the ship. He sent away missions to go do the dangerous work most of the time, which is the way it should be done. If it was a legit, if it was a real, the whole Starfleet thing was a real situation. You don't send your captain to, in front of trouble. You keep him on the ship protected in order to boss everybody around. Cosplay still exists in the 25th century. Heck yeah, cosplay's not going nowhere. Because the Union was unable to project holograms as disguises prior to the year 2419, it seems the technology used to disguise Malloy and Mercer was in fact a continuation of the technology taken from the Caliban command performance. Remember, in episode 2, Isaac created a holographic camouflage so they can disguise the ship as a Caliban ship. This technology comes from that technology, also by Isaac. Isaac introduced a lot of technology to the Orville universe. Kind of, time travel. That's kind of one that he did. He took a thing that the Union was already working on and he made it more better. That's how Isaac do. Samwise says Picard would get into fights when he was an academy student. Yeah, he'd also get stabbed in the back. But he just laughed it off. He was fine. Norm, what's going on? When the device went off, there may have been several Gordons. Orville has to go collect copies. Yes, he got split off into five to seven different Gordons being thrown. I don't know if they all just came back together in that one timeline or if they all went off into different timelines. I like to think he went off into different timelines. Or maybe he went to the same timeline 7 times. 7 different versions of him went to 7 different versions of the exact timeline. And it played out differently each time. What if the Orville only found one of them? There's a bunch of others out there. Multiverse stuff is so interesting. I just watched a couple months ago, I finished watching Dark Matter on Apple TV, which is a hardcore multiverse sci-fi series. I loved it. I highly recommend checking it out. I mean, it is, you'll have to start thinking about what you're watching in order to wrap your mind around it. But once you wrap your mind around it, you're like, whoa, no, what? Toasted like a marshmallow. Talia has a little bit. I mean, all the Krill have a little bit of white to their eyes, but they have to really move their eyes around for you to see it. But they pretty much are wearing. The actors are wearing full coverage contact lenses. A little bit of a sunburn. Yeah, Isaac needs to get his emotions back again. This time permanently. They need to figure out how to give Isaac his emotions without having to erase his memory banks. Wow, what an episode. Right here. This was, to me, I was like, oh, the Orville also doesn't give us happy endings. This whole last scene is a threat. And it's a threat that she comes through with later on. If this was Star Trek, everything would have been happy at the end. It would have been when the Krill ship and the Union ship were flying off with that music, that swell of music. The end credits. But now we get a little scene here. The Orville's mature. Another thing I did not expect from the show when first being introduced to the first few episodes. Yeah, there could be a Krill version of Gordon somewhere out there. Who knows where he ended up? Samwise says, like, if I was Ed, I want to go to a previous save file and do things different to keep Talia from going crazy, right? She went crazy. Crazy with power, crazy with vengeance. I want to know what led her to. Well, I do know that she kind of doubled down on her Krillness once she had a child with Ed, probably just to prove something to herself. Yes, the good times will return in 2026. Some people are hopeful for 2025 for season 4 of the Orville. If they do a really damn good job filming, they're really good at filming the show now after having to deal with season 3. That just seems too tight to start at the beginning of 2025 and be done by the end of 2025. That just seems too tight of a schedule. Hold on now. All right, I fixed it. So how was it, you guys? How was Krill? When was the last time you watched this episode? So much going on in this episode. Things that were just introduced to me about the show. I'm just watching the episode with you guys. I remember just sitting there for the first time watching this episode. And I remember that moment when she said, they will be. And then they faded the credits. I was like, whoa, this show is getting good. Little chills. Star Trek didn't do that. What's up, Lone Puppy? How you doing? Welcome aboard Talking the Orville. Victor Martinez, I watched it just a few weeks ago. Orville is my comfort show. It is. I watch it all the time. I don't even always watch full episodes. I'll watch little bits and pieces here or there. But when I watch a full episode, I get kind of just glued in front of the screen. Like sometimes I'll start an episode just to watch the opening scene so I can learn something or edit something. But then I'll just start watching it. And it's not like I've watched it a million times, though I have. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like I've watched it. It feels like it's the first time. Like last week before we watched Priya, I ended up just watching Priya a couple days before we watched it. I was just trying to get a certain scene out of it, but I just ended up watching the whole thing because it's that damn good. Lone Puppy says, I watch random episodes all the time. I never get tired of it. Has prompted me to watch TNG, DS9, and Voyager shows again. I want to watch Voyager, but I have a hard time. I'm so spoiled. I have a hard time watching it on high def television. I wish I had an old like CRT television so I can watch it on there and it won't look as. The show looks great, but it looks better on the original platform it was supposed to be played on. Which is the old televisions. The new high-def television, widescreen televisions don't do it justice. Kind of looks faded out. I want to get an old-ass TV just so I can watch Voyager. But then I have to have where am I going to put an old-ass TV? Those things weigh like 500 pounds, even the small ones. All right, Margot B watched Krill yesterday. Oh, nice. Brian Dawkins says a few weeks ago I did the Talia trilogy. What a story, right? Now, I hope that you have the comic Word of Avis, because that's a Talia story. So there's a bit of Talia story in that as well. You can see in that comic book how Talia escaped. In this episode, we have her in custody. We had her in a Union prison. She escaped. She escaped with the help of some Union xenoanthropologists who she was able to get sucked into the Ancana and into Avis, and started following the word of Avis, and then they helped her escape. And then we meet her again when she's a spy in season 2 when she comes aboard as Janelle Tyler. Turns out to be Talia the whole time. Crazy Talia. Samwise says, I like Red Letter Mia showing TNG's goof ups that are more visible in high definition. Oh, I didn't see that. I've watched Red Letter Media's all of their Star Trek reviews hundreds and hundreds of times. I haven't watched them in a long time, but back in the day, hundreds and hundreds of times. But I never saw anything that was goof ups that are more visible in high definition. That I need to look that up because that would be very interesting to me. Hopefully it's with Mr. Plinkett. So you guys, this episode, the Krill episode, takes place around December of the year 2419 or possibly January 2420. I'm fine with either. I'm fine if it's December or January. Ain't no skin off my back. The Krill attacked Castra 4, the planet they were attacking, the colony, 3 times in the last 30 days. Services at the Yakar's chapel happened during the day. Ed and Gordon copy the Ancana at night, 2 hours after the Yakar's night shift begins. Within a single day, Ed and Gordon killed the crew of the Yakar, captured the ship, and returned to the Orville. Yeah, they acted fast, you guys. This wasn't happening over days and days and days. This is all one day. I never even really thought about that. Now, when Gordon Malloy is stabbed in the leg with a knife by Harros, he shouts, "Damn it, that's a brand new leg." He's referring, of course, to the events of last week's episode that we watched, Priya, when Isaac took his leg as a prank and hid it in the rafters of a room. Now, we assume it was Gordon's leg. It was not cut in the correct location, but I think that was just a goof up of the prop department for the Orville. Gordon's left leg is misguided attempt at a humorous prank, and a new limb was slowly generated in that episode. The line, "That's a brand new leg," was actually not in the script. When Gordon was stabbed, executive producer Jason Clark playfully observed, "Hey, that's his new leg," and a new joke for Gordon was hastily added. So that was just somebody who made a joke watching the scene. "Hey, that's his new leg." And so they decided to add that into the script. Hilarious. Oh, nice. It is with Mr. Plinkett. I'll definitely have to watch it. I haven't watched any of their reviews in a long time. I stopped watching any type of reviews a few years ago, just because I'm talking about shows now, and so I decided to stop listening to anybody else's opinions on movies and shows. But before I decided that, I loved Mr. Plinkett stuff. All right, so one more here because I do have to get going, you guys. When Ed and Gordon recall their fight with the Krill on Epsilon 2, remember that? Episode 1, Old Wounds? They are referencing back to the Battle of Epsilon 2 in the episode Old Wounds. I got to do another one. I just told you guys that one. Ooh, that's dirty. Can't do that one. According to executive producers David A. Goodman and John Cassar, the joke, "What happened to the automatic fire suppression?" That's the panel that caught fire, says Alara, was an intentional parody of typical sci-fi tropes. So they were making fun of sci-fi when they came up with that joke. I love this show. It's the show is all of sci-fi wrapped into one lovely series. And people saying, "Oh, why does it take so long for the Orville? Why aren't they coming out with season after season, year after year?" I'm like, because it's a big special to do. It's artisan sci-fi. It's a big show. It's not easy to just crank these things out, nor would we want them to. Football is every season, but the Olympics is only every 4 years. Why? Because it's a big old to-do. The Orville is a big old to-do. It's a special event. It's not a TV series. If people tell you it's a TV series, no, say no. Nay, it's a special event. Samwise says, "Super happy fun Star Trek is the name of the Red Letter Media video." Okay, I will check that out. I do have to get going. Dinner is ready. It's been ready for an hour. I'm very late to the dinner. I'm going to go say hello to my wife, hang out for a little bit before I go to bed and start the day anew. Driving all around. Hopefully not for much longer. getting closer and closer to getting an official W-2 gig. I'm excited, and when that happens, I will let you know. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Do not forget, next week, same Orville time, same Orville channel, same Orville place, your place, wherever you have your screens at, we will be watching Majority Rule. This is one of my absolute favorite, not only just Orville episodes, but sci-fi television or sci-fi special event shows out there. So we're going to be watching that, talking about it, getting all the behind-the-scenes info. And if you want to get even more info about the Orville, you can check out the Orville Fan Wiki, which is where I'm getting all this information. Links in the description of this video. And please help support Talking the Orville. I'm rebuilding as we move forward and towards season 4 of the Orville, which of course is phase 4 of Talking the Orville. I'll see you all very soon. Let me get my buttons going. Get the right buttons. Here we go. Almost there. Here is the button. I'll see you all very soon. Remember, we all do better when we all do better together. Love you. Bye-bye.